Let's go. So I have had probably since the Arcane season came out, the recent one, I think I've had one person a day ask me how to draw like Arcane. So here I am teaching you guys how to do it. And I really want to make sure you guys are knowing which rules have been broken in this style. I want to talk about style. I want to talk about how style is a breaking of rules. It's not always going to follow all the fundamentals, but in doing that, it has charm to it. But in order to break the rules, you have to know the rules. Someone who accidentally breaks the rules to create a style is somebody who probably has no idea how to recreate it again. It's probably just a matter of guesswork and thinking about the way they might have felt while drawing it, stuff like that. Non-concrete reasons why their style looks the way that it does. But someone who's skilled, who's literate, that's this key word here, literate in fundamentals, knows what rule they broke and knows how to achieve that look. So let's break down the Arcane style. Let's redline it a little bit. It's a fun style. I don't like it, me personally, because I hate line dependence, but I can see the charm, I can see the love, and I can see how it is appealing to a lot of different audiences because it is a combination of Western animation style with the jagged edges and the dark upper lip in most of them. The repetitive face shape, very square. We saw this style a lot in the 90s in shows like there was this one superhero show. We see it in Justice League. We see this style in that one Godzilla show. Do you guys remember that? We see this style in the Gargoyle show. We see this style a lot, but this style is part American, let's just say American, Western, whatever, part anime. The anime in it is the size of the eyes, sometimes in the way the characters move, and a lot in the expressions and just the general energy of anime, superpower, power up, that affects the way characters are drawn. The small chin, the big eyes, the triangle of beauty, um, the triangle of beauty, all of those things are similar to anime. Also, the really, really strong upper eyelid line, very, very anime. And then they just found this middle ground between them. All of these characters have a really strong jaw area. Jaw, chin, mouth. What is this area called? Can anybody know what this area is called? Lower lip, chin, fissure. They all have a really strong chin. They all have a very deep Cupid's bow. They all have really, really pronounced glabella. They all have a really, really pronounced lower eyelid and lower, sometimes if it fits the character, remember back to the days where I taught you guys how to draw villains. The key to a villain is really, really dark lower eyelids. It makes the person look unhinged, devilish, mysterious, untrustworthy, villainous. To really make a character pure evil, which she is not, and that's the point of the show, I guess, is to just completely get rid of the eyebrows as well. That's how you start getting pure evil. But they went for the darker lip and they went for the dark lower eyelid. All characters have this. All characters also all have this like binasal, biseptum dark spot. They really went all the way with the value sharing, and it almost feels sculpted or painted in. All the characters have this to some degree. Large lower eyelid, Cupid's bow, strong chin, strong lower lip cylinder, and really pronounced cheekbones, really pronounced cheek shape for all of them. Hers looks a bit more circular, but in some scenes, it's really caved in. So that's really the style. We're just finding a middle ground. They do not hold back on their eyebrows. They like low, straight, heavy eyebrows for most of their characters. If a character is supposed to be beautiful, they will, like that fox character. I think it was like a transgender fox. Just a like most beautiful character in the show. It was such a cool design. I loved it. And it was like very, very feminine. I don't know how they did that. Like it was so, so well done. So I'm going to try to paint my sketch in that similar way. So I sketched a character really quickly. I added the strong lower lip. I added the nose shape. The nose shape is all outlined in most of them. They're just outlining the nose shape. It's really just a sketch of a nose, two nostrils, general shadows. They don't value share that much around the nose, which is good, but they do leave this outline around the nose. So I'm going to do that as well. And basically just try my best to create this style. So where the rules have been broken, I just already mentioned the value sharing, the outlining, and the consistent face shape. And I think that's pretty much it. Just this really, really strong, unblended structure to the nose and eyebrow. They kind of just really don't hold back. They keep it sharp. They make it look like you did the blocking, but you didn't do the blending. But there is plenty of blending. As for the painting technique, they are using a very, very simple, I mean, you could get away with the most basic brushes on Photoshop to achieve this look. It's not supposed to be a look that looks super soft. It's actually really, unblended. It looks unblended for the most part. Over blending is really not going to help you here because you want these sectional kind of purposeful paint by numbers look where it doesn't look like you're trying to create a smooth finished skin look. You're trying to keep it two-dimensional while keeping it three-dimensional. So those are the things I'm going to do. We might end up with something nice. We might end up with something horrendous. I'll do my best. I'm actually going to use my number 2 blocker just because it just does a lot of work, and I really like my number 2 blocker. I prepared some skin tones. Their skin tones are pretty monochromatic. Like they're not cooling down. Look at the navigator. They're not cooling down. We're not jumping to, not the navigator, sorry, the color picker. Let me enlarge the color picker for you guys. Take a look at these colors. The hue slider doesn't really jump into purples that much. It stays in the warms. Look at that. So we're not cooling down. Their values are pretty monochromatic. They're just like kind of doing this without moving this. If you want to get that arcane look, you got to not use cools. That's just how they do it. Maybe on her they used a bit of purple. See how the hue slider is jumping down into red? That's a reddish value. That's not warm anymore. That's now cool. But she's pale. But they still very, very much monochromatic in certain areas. Very, very simplistic value choice for skin. They don't try to make it like green under the lower eyelid or purple or like value changes. They try to keep things pretty monochromatic for the most part. So that's what I'm doing. I picked skin tones that are generally monochromatic, and we're going to go from there. So I picked a background value that's kind of moody. I'm just trying to capture that general angsty, arcane, look. I'm going to let you guys decide her hair color. What hair color should I give her? So as I'm adding these values, all I'm doing is I am blocking in, thinking about the light source from top down. I am basically just blocking in all of these shadow sections, making sure to stay true to the style. So let me reduce opacity here, and let me reduce opacity here. Redhead, red, green. Red is nice. Red might be nice, actually. Maybe I'll keep it full opacity. So all I'm doing is just blocking in just like they have. Finding a decent color from my palette that's been prepared. And I'm finding all of the dark areas first. So I don't want to make it too dark. But all the characters are mysterious, and they're mysterious because they're painted this way. They're painted in a very, very dark way. And the side of the nose going all the way down to the nostrils. All right, we're blocking in mercilessly. We are just putting in 100% blocks over here. I'm letting that shadow go in, and I'm keeping things generally unblended, non-overlapped. No overlapping, just structural stuff that's really going to help us. I'm going to try to find like a white value, a grayish background value, something that's not quite skin tone for the white of the eyes. We don't want it to be skin tone. I'm gonna give her the color, Caitlin's eye color, because I really love that color. It's like a kind of like a teal color. So I'm gonna give her like that. Um, so let me just find the color. It's a little bit more toward green. So I'm gonna do that. So I'm just placing in all of these colors, and by finding the color of the white of the eye, I can kind of sneak in a little bit of it into the eye and mix them together. Try to find something a little more natural. And we're just going to keep blocking it. I'm just blocking in shadows and midtones right now. All right, so we're using the same shadow on the eyes, 100%, to find the lower chin area, sneaking around the mouth, the cheekbone area. All of this is with the light top down. So that's a rule they didn't break for most of these forms. They kept some of the light actually happening the way it would in real life. So cast shadows from the neck down, but they do paint in a lot of what you see. A lot of what you see isn't like rendered on the spot. I don't know how to describe it. It's not the model is there, but the surface area has been painted in and wrapped around it. Okay, that's as much as I know. I'm not a 3D modeler. All right, and then I'm going to pick a color for the eyebrows, maybe like a mix of purple and brown, something like that. You really can just pick random colors as long as you stay true to the edges that are happening in the scene. There's going to be a lot of outlining, but we're going to get rid of most of these lines. These lines don't stay. That's the secret. And I will zoom in a bit, but right now I can't zoom in because we're trying to capture this this look. So a lot of white on the inner eyelid, a lot, that inner corner. So now I'm going to raise up my value. It should look patchy and muddy. If it's patchy and muddy, you're going in the right direction, but there's a balance. It's not fully patchy and fully muddy. Okay, and I'm just expanding that out. There's a light on either side of the nose going toward the mouth. I'm going to pick a random value. The upper lip in this style, which is where that American touch, that Western animation look comes in, the upper lip is always dark in these styles. In the Western style, the upper lip is always dark. And for some reason it worked. Like, for instance, the show Danny Phantom, I think. Danny Phantom or Johnny Phantom. What is it? Danny Phantom, right? He's like a phantom guy. The upper lip is dark in that. Then you've got Batman, the original classic Batman. Not the original, but like the classic 90s Batman. Where that one guy who was... that one guy who lost his hand in Star Wars voiced the Joker in that series. Yeah, Danny Phantom. What's the name of the of that actor who played Luke Skywalker? He's the one who voiced the Joker in that series. That series of Batman, the upper lip is always dark for some reason. Justice League that I mentioned earlier, the upper lip is always dark. Mark Hamill, thank you. So I'm just trying to find that same style, that mix of American and anime. And the way anime comes in is in that dark of the upper eyelid. That's just a lot of it. A lot of it is happening up here. That leftover of the anime influence. Whoever's the head director has a history of like he's a fan of, or she is a fan of American Western, but you know, you can tell they're our age, generally like in the 30s, like early 40s, late, you know, mid 30s, something like that. 90s kid. You can tell the influences are there. Whoever the main artist, lead artist is, they might be something of like an 80s or 90s kid. And you can see the fusion of anime and Western. And so I'm just adding a little bit of that light that's under the eyebrow while staying true to the style, not blending too early, keeping the things generally patchy. Then I'm going to just get some white in the gray. I'm going to start zooming in. I'm almost done my blocking, so I want a little bit more light here. And I'm going to start just adding a little bit more of that white. They don't have a lot of those anatomical things happening, you know, like all the redness and translucency and subsurface scattering. But they do have a waterline in most of these characters. It's very faint. It's not that prominent, but it's there. And you can even outline it toward the end. So everyone keeps asking me about the Arcane style, and they're Gen X, not Gen X, sorry, they're Gen Z. And Gen Z didn't grow up in the 90s. So they don't understand that it's actually a really, really, what's the term? It's a very precious combination of two styles that are very, very important to 90s kids. So they keep asking me about the style, like how'd they do it? It looks so unique. And I'm just like, no, no, it's not. It's not unique. It's something that actually came right before you were born. And it's the combination of all of these things that we all grew up watching on Cartoon Network and on Nickelodeon and all of that. Just really, really Americanized anime. And I love it. I really do. I like the way people are starting to, younger generations are starting to take over the styles out there. I mean, you guys know what I mean when I say like the boomer style. You see that in which movies? You see that in the way they did creature design in Star Wars. You can see that in the way they did Never-Ending Story creatures. You can tell somebody older drew this face. It doesn't look right. But now we're starting to grow up and get into studios and start doing all that work. And you can see our influence coming in. Oh, right. So I don't want to blend. I'm just trying to keep these edges all separate from each other. And then now for the nose bridge, which needs a lot of light. They do a lot of value sharing around the nose. And it's a deliberate choice that they've done to keep things looking a little bit structural. So you can see I'm kind of influenced a lot by the Caitlin design, but I'm trying to do a combination of all three: Caitlin, Vi, and Jinx. And there's a little bit of a patch there, a small patch in between them, and a large block for the forehead, a very, very large block. You can see that I added some hair underneath. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to it this class. Maybe after Thanksgiving, I'll be able to do all that with you guys. And they kind of alter. Sometimes the inner water line, sorry. Sometimes the inner corner is really bright. Sometimes it's not. And I'm just going to add a little bit of patching here. Make sure that value sharing on the side of the nose isn't too crazy. They don't really do a lot of radial shading around the mouth. They keep a lot of it there, but they do have a tiny shadow there. They have some lip texture that just hangs out, some general lip texture, and they outline the lips. They really, really do. Most of the characters kind of have like a little eye bag, which I actually really appreciate. Again, I'm not crazy about the value sharing in this style. I would love if they replaced all the lines and kept it very together, but when you grow up in the 90s and you're seeing all these line styles, you're not going to give up the line, especially if you're the art director and you're in charge. You're not going to give up the line, which I can see why. It's like paying homage to the styles that created the Arcane style, which is anime, which is a very line reliant style, and some of the Americanized styles. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We can add a little bit of extra, like, you know, little blush colors here and there. That's my touch. I'm just kind of sneaking in some extra colors. I'm not crazy about the monochromatic, but a little bit of extra contrast and a bit of coolness everywhere goes a long way. So this is just all blocked. Nothing's been blended yet. Before I blend, I gotta go to my lines, which are right here. I turned off the hair layer. So I turned off the hair layer, and these are the lines right here. I'm going to get them same area as the painting. So now what I'm going to do is duplicate the layer, preserve that, lock the line layer. And now what I'm going to try to do, if you can see, they don't have lines in certain areas, but sometimes they do. And it's kind of like a skin tone value. You can't see it here. You can't see it here because this is the 3D model turnaround. But in some scenes, there's some lines. The line of this edge of the face is relatively gone. But you can see a lot of the line left over around the nose, around the eyes, which is where it matters. But there's not much line left over on the outsides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that line. And I'm just going to use skin tone on those areas. A darker skin tone, something like that. This whole thing is going to get merged down in a little bit. And that's probably the scariest thing that you could do, is merge the layer down with the lines. I remember when I was just training and learning, I was like, I need to leave this layer alone. But when I finally just got sick of managing layers, I just started merging layers down, and it just got so easy painting all on one layer. And people are now watching me paint everything on a layer, and they're shocked. And it is unfortunate seeing students still struggle against the layers, but you have to remember, we came from a non-layer world, which is our sketchbooks, and if they can do it, we can do it. It's just because we've been given layers that they've become so precious, but don't be so precious with them. So now I have a nice clean edge of the head against the chin. I've separated them by creating a sharp edge, separating them, as we can see in most of these, and a shadow underneath. And then I'm going to, if you can see here, there's no line for the cheeks left over. Some characters, if they want to exaggerate it, they will leave the line, especially on male characters. But I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. I'm going to keep the nose edge line, but I'm going to make it like kind of a darker blackish color. Most of these lines around the eyes, I'm going to keep. The eyebrow outline, I'm going to keep it, but make it kind of a little bit darker. And the side of the nose, we don't need a line there. See, they have a kind of a line, but we do need an edge. So I'm going to get rid of it and strengthen the edge underneath it. This is why I haven't blended yet. Now I can zoom in and start cleaning up. And really sharpening, making sure those edges touch so that that line has been replaced successfully. All of this will get blended one way or another, but blended in a way that preserves this style. So we're still trying to replace the line here. I'm going to keep blocking the shadow area since now I know what I'm replacing. And I'm just going to get my shadow color, and you can see here the shadow around the nose is pretty much outlined around the base of the nose. And because I am using a smaller blocking brush, I'm going to shrink my brush. Okay, and that hugs the side of the nose. I think the nose is probably the biggest thing that they do between all characters, and they repeat the same general concept of how to draw the nose through all the characters. Outlined on the side, strong triangular shadow on the bottom. Okay, and then we're going to make sure that this butterfly wing, this angel wing effect that they have, is preserved around either side of the nose. All characters seem to have a suntan, that nose tan that you get in the summer, that blush tan. They all seem to have it. And so I'm just trying to make sure it's balanced and looks okay while preserving it and making sure it's not overdone. Feathering out toward it. Some blending can be done with the blocking brush easily. And then we have a bit of a shadow. I'm carrying that entire upper lip highlight, stopping right above the middle line of the mouth because I don't want to bring highlight down here. And I am using this general shadow to kind of replace the Cupid's bow. Oops. I'm replacing the Cupid's bow with a little bit of that blush color of the lips. So you see a lot of the lines are preserved, but a lot of them are gone. And darker on the inside of the eyelid, but bright along the middle of the eyelid. Literally all three characters have that, except for Jinx, who has eyeshadow and kind of like smeared mascara. But this is a really like obvious thing they do with all their characters. Most of these characters have a lot of dark upper eyelid, almost like they all have a smoky eye look. So I'm just going to do a combination of red and brown and just try to get that look there as well. But it just depends. Every character is different. To paint the style is to study 4 or 5 characters from the same universe and see what you can do, you know, how you can pick pieces and put them together and create your own character through different characters. There isn't one specific character that there isn't one style they use for all characters. There isn't one setup. They're individualized. But you can see how some of the ways they interpret anatomy is actually very, very repetitive. The eyebrows tend to be very close together for most of these characters. And so I'm just going to do my own thing now. I'm going to try to just introduce some extra shadows that when I start blending, the general idea will be in there. I'm going to add a bit of a shadow for the eyes, that eyelid area. And then with the eyes that they draw, the iris is generally, it's a very anime style of doing it, but it's also something I've seen in 3D animation, like in Kung Fu Panda. Very, very go-to universal way of rendering the iris, which is a very dark pupil, a gradient coming in from the top that stops somewhere halfway, just like that, and a very, 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 very white specular highlight. Okay, and then from there, we have like small cuts of light here and there. I'll add those at the end. So I will just put them in a separate layer now. Okay, and sometimes they have two, like Jinx has a couple in one. She has a couple in one, and she has the same pattern as her. So that's pretty much what I mean by some anatomy is interpreted really, really in a repetitive way. So sometimes when I'm drawing, I just go through everything one last time to make sure contrast looks and feels right. So the white of the eye, I'm just going to boost it up a little bit more. Most of these brush strokes I'm adding in are not going to be blended. And that's the deliberate Arcane style, that very gritty style that adds to the narrative. It really does. That's a great example right there of how style and narrative are working together. Everything's messy, the underground, the subworld, whatever they call it, that fancy Piltover city above. All those characters don't look as grungy. So they do use this style to represent what's happening on the class struggle in that story. A little bit of a shadow for the eyelids here and there. And just making sure everything feels right when it comes to the contrast. There's a lot more contrast I could climb, but I'd like to do that at the end, but I'd like to show it to you now. Sometimes you can add a highlighter that's light blue on skin like this. It works. It really does. But they don't do that. But that's something I want to show you guys. I'm just going to find like a peachy highlighter tone and use it on all the final spots here and there. On the cheek going down like a big C shape. They really do this a lot. They do like a big block C shape. You see what I mean? That C shape right here. They do this shape for the cheeks. And then I'm going to block once and then block again for the forehead. And we're just adding that last little bit of contrast that really changes, it makes it feel instantly like that Arcane style. And then there's highlight on either side of the nose. And I think that's it. There's really not much else. It's not a very complicated style, but you have to know where it comes from. You have to know the origin. So this is it without the lines. This is it with the lines. There's a lot more rendering and polishing involved, but now I'm going to duplicate the layer. I'm going to merge down, and it's done. We merged down. So now we're just going to blend. The blending should be in a way that does not damage the style. So You can see the foreheads are pretty smooth. They don't try to mess around with the forehead. But as soon as they'll blend the forehead. But as soon as they get close to the eyes, they're no longer blending. Like you can just practically see the leftover blocks, right? You guys can see that. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to blend the forehead. Just get it nice and smooth. I'm using my smudge brush. It's on my store for anyone interested. So I used my blocker brush today, which gave us a nice gritty arcane look. Do you see that? But I don't want to blend all of it away. So sometimes I'll just blend and then kind of reblock an area just to have some blocking happening. Like just like that. See how now we have kind of a forehead look? Kind of the temples sneaking in. And we don't want to blend it all away. We just want to keep some of those edges intact. And then now I'm shrinking my smudge brush, and you can see they do blend around that glabella area, but they leave a lot of those brush strokes alone. They don't blend them out completely. In fact, you can get a smudge brush on Photoshop on soft brush and do jiggle smudge. Do you guys remember jiggle smudge? You just hold the soft brush on like 41% and you jiggle. You just jiggle. That's it. So that blends the block without losing the block, but don't like overdo it. You can jiggle vertically, you can jiggle horizontally. Do you see that? So that like helps you kind of incorporate those values together and make it look like you have the block still intact, but that's not just like a raw brush stroke that looks pretty messy. It's something in between. So sometimes you can do the jiggle with a a brush like this that has a bit more grit to it. Sometimes you can just go back to your smudge brush and just smudge the way you would with a scatter, which is how I would. Obviously, the strength needs to go all the way down if you're scattering, and so I'm just using that. I don't want to get rid of the edges, but I also want to make it look finished. You don't have to do this, by the way. You can just do that classic stroke blend, meaning, you go to paintbrush, you go to your regular hard round that I talked about earlier, and you are just doing brush strokes that just overlap until you get something that looks blended. Do you see that? So many different ways to achieve the look. You can lower the opacity all the way down and you get this like very repetitive. And this is the most basic brush on Photoshop. The only difference is that I gave it shape dynamics and transfer in small amounts. Oops. So there's so many ways to achieve this kind of textured look. And you can see it's a combination. Like there's soft brush here, there's hard round here, there's textured brushes around the nose. There's so many different ways. I'm going to go to my classic way that I know and trust, which is scatter smudge. And I'm going to just start smudging. In fact, I'll duplicate the layer so I can preserve my edges. And I just start smudging. It's so reliable, it's so quick. And there's no extra work. That hard round method I just showed you, the jiggle smudge, all of those are so much work because you have to just get in there and start doing the work. And I'd prefer the brush just smudge the way it would in real life, which is I just run it across and it's already dragged everything uniformly. And in real life, I would be jittering my hand while smudging as well. And then right here, I go back to my, sometimes I smudge and paint at the same time because I can now. I don't have to worry about the lines anymore. So right here where the eyebrows kind of sneak back down, just like that, I will add in paint and then go back to smudging and just keep smudging. Smudge, 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 avoiding the eyes. And if you do blend away some of your blocks, that's okay. You're still allowed to go back and reblock. In fact, you have a smoother surface to reblock on. Okay, And most characters have like a dark kind of makeup at the top corner, especially the female characters. I think even Jinx has it. And it's kind of like an eyeshadow. And I'm just gonna clean that up. Let that cheekbone travel all the way up. Sorry, my bird is working out. She like starts fanning her wings really hard. I think she's hormonal. And blending, blending, blending. Blending around the nose, but leaving alone the edge of the nose. I'm not touching that. She's playing with her rattle. She asks for kisses and then she does the kissy sound. Isn't that so cute? I'm trying to teach. I can't give you a kiss right now. Do you guys hear that? And then I'm going to get this highlighter and let it kind of sneak into that lower eyelid area, just like that. Oops. And just trying to cut off this area and then reblending. So I blend in paint, making sure that most of these edges are not blended in the same capacity, in the same volume or magnitude. Everything is blended in different degrees. I can zoom in now. So this is the rendering. It takes a while, and just sit back, get some tea, and I'm just trying to find a way to connect all of these surfaces together. And I'm just letting that kind of connect there. Trying to use skin tone where I can instead of black for certain areas. Showing where the nostril kind of bends in. Not every character has a downward facing nose. Some characters have a nose that feels a little bit kind of like just like a standard looking nose. And they don't have a lot of bounce light. They do not have a lot of bounce light in this show. So I'm not worried about that. I could put that out of my mind. And I'm just preparing the blending area that I'm going to blend here for the mouth. I'm blocking in small degrees, which is why my brush is smaller. I'm doing detail, which is why I'm zoomed in. As soon as I do something that is not zoomed in, that is a large brush, that's something that is not a small object, I zoom back out. And again, I'm just smudging this whole area out. Smudging the inside corners and the edges of the mouth. And I'm just going to blend around here. My brush size went a little bit larger. Now it looks like a character from Arcane. That's so cool. You just have to kind of break down a style. But everybody asked me, can you do a video about how to draw like Arcane? Can you do a video? And I watched it and I'm like, it's not that hard. Why are they so mesmerized by it? But I can see why they're mesmerized by it, because it's not just template anime. It's got a little bit of human in it. It's got a little bit of realism in it, but it's also got that 90s Western animation look, even almost Disney at some points. Sophie, can you exercise later? Can you exercise later, mommy? Okay, that's a no. That's a full-on no from her. And I'm just getting some highlight on either side of the mouth. And they kind of let that pencil line of the edge of the mouth expand a little bit in most of these. They kind of just let it linger. Like you can see here, they let it linger. It's like a line that they just kind of move out. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. Oops. Okay, so all of this is just the base stuff. I feel like adding a little bit more color. So I'm just going to use some purple. This is my own creative input. This is my own kind of choice. I'm not trying to recreate any particular character, but try to do something of my own in here. And they do have lip texture. They do add that. The mouth is always kind of small too in most of the characters. You just got to make sure that upper lip stays a little bit darker than the surrounding lips. And there's always just a little bit of a light on the Cupid's bow. There's the shadow of the nose. Now I'm using my pencil brush, by the way. There's a shadow on the nose going down. And I'll go back and reblock and re-edge. That's all rendering is. You just kind of revisit the same area 7 times with a different size brush each time, with a different motive each time. One time it's for the edges, one time it's for the detail, one time it's for the blending, one time it's that's all painting really is. They kind of blend the outer line of the nose just a little bit, but they keep the line, they keep the shadow there. And that shadow, that's the area is looking a little messy here, so I'm just going to clean it up and zoom back out, make sure I'm not too zoomed in so I lose some detail or lose focus. And then now I'm just cleaning out the edge of the nose, making sure that's nice and sharp. For the nostrils, which is the whole concept of overlap, they don't destroy overlap edges. Do you guys remember what overlap edges are? Edges that are a result of 2 surfaces distant from each other. They have no reason to share matter, so they can't be blended. So they do preserve the overlap edge in this style for sure. Okay, and then I'm just going to get soft brush. As you can see, they do use soft brush around the edges of the cheeks. So I'm just going to try to do that and try to mimic what's happening around that whole lower beard area, that whole beard shadow system that we see with Vi's face. But they don't do that with all the characters. Not every character gets that treatment. And I'm just gonna blend some more. And maybe I'll smudge blend some areas just by literally dragging. And it seems like a lot of the time they're not worried too much about clean work. They kind of want it to be messy work. Let me see if I could find a better brush to drag for me. Okay, and that's good enough, I guess. Then back to the regular smudge and just decreasing the size of the brush. So right now I'm totally tunnel vision. All I can think about is just polishing. Eventually I'll stop that and zoom back out and try to address all of the larger issues. But quick shortcut to that is this navigator right here. It's your best friend. Sometimes for like emotional effect, they kind of let the eyes of the characters look a little bit emotional, which is adding more redness and more water, letting the whole eye kind of get red, letting the inside corner of the eye really get red, right around the edges of the eye. And then I'm just going to use soft brush to kind of like hover some shadow, almost like smudged mascara, but not really. And then I'm just going to let some of these kind of just get messy. Not too worried, some overlapping here and there, not too clean. I'm gonna get rid of this extra line I had left over and just try to combine it with the eye area. And then I'm going to get my blocker. Try to get like a rosy, not rosy, but like a peachy highlighter and start applying all of these extra highlights on the skin to kind of bring some brightness back to the skin. And just adding a little bit of it, not too much, to the high point of the skin here and there to add that shine that they have in skin sometimes. Like they have this shine to the skin. Okay, and just continuing that climb. Every fiber in my body is telling me to blend out the lips, but I'm ignoring it because it's a style. We're trying to do a style here. I don't want to blend out, I don't want to outline the lip completely. I want to add just a little bit of that upper cylindrical shadow because we do see it on Caitlin's mouth, and then it goes back to being dark. Over here, we gotta clean that up. It should just be a general skin tone value, nothing too extreme. And then we gotta smoothen that out as well. Oops. Is it Draven? They sometimes have a little bit of light on the inside, like that little bit on the cheek. And then they blend it out. And a little bit of radial shading almost on the darker parts of the cheek. So brush stroke, and then within it a brush stroke, and within it a brush stroke until it blends out. And then I blend out some of these brush strokes I added, not all of them. You have to have it, or else it's not going to look League of Legends. And I'm pretty sure one of the promo music videos they have has this style too, a very boxy portrait. Very boxy, with a lot of these signature unblended blocks. And then now for the eyes, since they're the masters of the portrait, now I just want to clean up around the eyes, make them look a little bit more magical. Which is something that, it's all up to you at this point. You want to put like white and then green on the inside. You could do that. So I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. You can make two eyes look completely different from each other. I'm going to add a couple of those lights around here. And this whole area of the eye, I want to figure it out. I don't know what I want to do with it. I don't know if I want to put a light there, if that'll look better, or keep it dark like in Jinx's face. You see that how they have it dark? So they do have a water line. They're big on their water lines. So I'm going to just try to include it in there somewhere. And you can see this is the detailing work. This is where you just start to slow down and add in some of those elements. And you just clean up as you go. As for the lower eyelid, most of the time it's just a line. Again, this is where the line dependence comes back. They just outline the lower eyelid. So all those messy brush strokes we added earlier, now that we're making sense of them. And keep it clean, not too many overlap brush strokes. Separated, unblended look, yet it looks blended because it's overlapping cell shades. That's really what I'm getting out of this style. Over here, they do blend the shadow of the eyelid against the white of the eye. And sometimes I can see that they have soft brush. So in a new layer on Darken, I'm just going to radially add that shadow of the eyelid, which is the last shadow on the eyes. See that? I'm making sure that specular highlight stays super clean and strong. And then probably just going to keep cleaning up some random edges here and there, making sure they remain unblended, nice and sharp. Wherever I had an accidental overlap, just over here. Which character in League would this closely resemble? Like of all the characters, probably Samira, I think. And then just an extra little line. So now we're going back to the hard round, and we're throwing in those unforgiving final brushstrokes that tend to have that look. I'm going to just blend out the outer corner since they don't really have it travel all the way around sometimes. And then looks like Caitlin to me. Well, yes, that was the reference, but darker skin, you know, Caitlin's kind of pale. And then I'm going to just try to clean up the inside values of the eye. I lost some of the green, but it's still there. It's making an impact. And this is kind of the part where we're slowing down the general pace of the painting process because it's getting into the details. And now just with my pencil brush, I'm, oopsie, just cleaning up any final little areas, but with a line. All right, and zooming out. And in a new layer in a second, I'm going to add some like cool color effects, makeup, all those things. I'll add them in. And they sometimes have these extra little brush strokes here and there. See how like these just random brush strokes that they have everywhere. And I'll probably give this character an expression. And I'm just going to use burn tool on the edges of the mouth. It's going to give us that nice tuck. And blending around here and there. That's kind of I believe, the average of most of these characters. I feel like I don't know, I'm trying to find the average here. Let me reduce that. Go to my big boy and just use that bigger brush to get that softer kind of cheek look, but not too soft. And I can't tell if, you know, it's my instinct that's kicking in, or, you know, I don't usually do style breakdowns and I don't usually try to copy styles. So some of my natural painting instinct is kicking in, trying to make it so that it feels more like me, but obviously that's not what we're doing today. So I'm using just a bit of red on color mode around the lips. And at this point, it's all yours. You can do whatever you want with it. You could use some of that same teal on the inner corner of the eye, on the outer corner of the eye as makeup. It's all, you know, now it's yours. You could do whatever you want with it. I'm just going to boost the light and color around the eyes. And I'm just going to mess with dodge tool from a distance just to capture that look. I think I need 100%. And kind of that brightness that they add. I'm going to add a little bit of it to the mouth, just in a random spot. And then I'm going to get my blocking brush again, go pure white, and leave behind some unblended brush strokes around all of these areas. So a little bit in between the eyes and the nose, the inner corner, just completely unblended white, pure white on some of these areas. The specular highlights, I believe, are these layers, so I'm going to duplicate them again so they're nice and sharp. Go in and clean them with probably one of my stronger brushes and try to get more of a uniform circular look to them, as if they're wrapping around a sphere. And I'm just going to, with a soft brush, taper their ends so they're not like just sharp. They grow gradually. This girl's going to get revenge. And then pure white and just get that specular highlight in there. Doesn't have to be this big, but I do like it. Kind of just adds a bit of ferocity to her face. And you can blur it or you can keep it sharp. It's all up to you, whatever you feel like it gives the painting something. So those are the specular highlights. That's this. And these are the original lines. I'm going to keep those off. There's also the hair, which I have not added. I don't think I have time to add. But yeah, that would be really interesting to add some of the hair. I'm probably going to be able to block some of it in. And so I think I'll use that reddish color you guys suggested, but it'll be a bit more of a purpley red, just to match the general motif of this character. And the hair that they draw is actually really, really simple. It's because hair physics in games and 3D animation, it's not great. So they just tried to paint it in and keep it general. This is a long class. I do apologize. Okay, and then there's the layer on top. Where is that hair layer? There's the layer on top, which is going to be not crazy about these bangs because they hide too much of the forehead, but at this point I'm just being creative. Like it's gonna take time, and so it's not the point of the tutorial. It's mostly about just a style breakdown and just showing you guys, demystifying the style, showing you guys what it's all about. Another day I will probably do the very 90s, this hairstyle. I'll probably do the hair for you guys sometime after Thanksgiving. I won't be critiquing this Thursday for Thanksgiving, but I will be doing a class the Tuesday that follows. All right, and there's some quick hair there. You don't have to do it in this intensity. You can throw in a bit more of the forehead visibility in there somewhere. It doesn't have to completely erase the forehead space. Okay, so considering that is done, I'm just going to do any last minute kind of changes to the skin. So depending on your light environment, sometimes the skin is a bit more saturated, sometimes it's a bit more desaturated. So at this point, now that everything is in place, now that everything is where it needs to go, you can adjust your hue slider to have a bit more saturation in it, to be a bit more of a purple skin tone. It doesn't really matter. It's just a small jump each time. You can drop your levels down. That'll look really, really arcane. But some scenes aren't that dark, but there's some really intense high contrast happening in some of those scenes. So the style is really in the structure and the way they structure these features. They don't really have any movement outside of. They stay within this general pattern. There are some creatures in there that don't follow the style, obviously, in the show. But most of the characters that are the main characters in the show, the point of the show, they do have this very, very rigid anime fusion Western kind of style. Okay, do you guys have any questions at all? I'm just kind of doodling some more. I wish I had more time, but unfortunately I don't. But any questions at all? And just getting my pencil brush and just kind of trying to outline the corner of that mouth. And that upper lip kind of needs a bit of cleaning. There's so many more hours I could put into this to kind of get it to be clean, but this is as much as I can do in an hour while explaining and all of that. What would think her choice of weapon would be? Oh, definitely daggers. Oh yeah. Daggers are poison. Poison daggers. 100. Today was a great time to follow along. I hadn't tried this style before. Very popular. It'll definitely get you some clicks. Everyone's kind of crazy about Arcane right now. And I felt it was nice to have a style breakdown. Everyone's always asking me about it. And all my students have references pulled up in their mood boards, and all of the all of the chatter about the backgrounds and the it just came out, so everyone's really, really excited about it. And I completely understand. It's a very charming style that unites the world of Western animation and Japanese Asian animation. I'm gonna do a soft brush and just try to find like a reddish version of purple for the nose on color mode. And just try to color in that nose a bit. Use some of that purple for the cheeks. Use some more for the lips. And a little bit for the upper eyelid, just to create like a makeup motif. And a little bit for the eyebrows. So this is the stuff that I would do if it was just, my drawing. And it is, but but I'm saying, for the sake of the style. Caitlin's nose does bend outward before it goes up. So there's like a little bend. You can do that as well. That's also very, very League, very Riot look. That bent out nose. I think Garen has this type of nose. A lot of the characters have this type of nose. Or you could just blend this area. I mean, you could do a lot as long as you keep that general butterfly look on either side of the nose. Have I had anyone ask for a digital circus style? No, but I'll look it up. If you do want to ask me for style breakdown requests, you can just DM me on Instagram. And I'll take a look at it. I'll watch whatever show it's related to. I'll watch the gameplay, kind of understand the show. I don't like doing a lecture on something I don't know. Like League, I know. Other things I don't really know that well. Blacker on the outside corners of the eyebrows and a little bit of highlight right in the middle of the eyebrows somewhere goes a really long way to making that forehead look like it has volume. Remember, don't overblend with this style. It doesn't look right anymore if you do that. And you can leave behind some of those jagged lines, like right here for the eyebrow area. And I wanted to give her an expression, which would be really, really cool to mess around with. So filter, liquify, and I'm just going to give her an eyebrow, a raised eyebrow. I'll go back and obviously fix this eye, so ignore that. And a smile. And maybe something that looks a little bit like, really? Really? Are you really saying that? Are you really saying that to me right now? Seriously? You're so annoying. Okay. So, um, before, she's not impressed. After, I'm just getting the old eye back. Oopsie, I deleted too much. And then just giving her a, more of a gentle, judgmental, gentle smile, like me. So before, very unimpressed. After, kind of like, I want to actually do a much stronger smile, so bear with me. This line goes there. I don't know, the smile is starting to get a bit twisted, so starts on the outside and preserve that Cupid's bow, that really strong Cupid's bow. And then after, and just cleaning it up. Oh, right. A smile also widens. Okay. She's kind of like, aw, you're slow. I could work on the smile a little bit longer. But that's really it. That's the whole style. It's really easy to animate because it's not too high maintenance, but it's also very, very charming. I'm just throwing in that little bit of smile line and fold, and a little bit of fold here. So they preserve their lines even with smiles and stuff like that. So before, after. This is me after critique hour, and this is me after someone says the before was better. Hey, Istebrak, the before was better. Okay, I'm done. Thank you guys for watching. Today was really, really fun. We looked at the Arcane style and what makes it look like that and why it's so charming. A lot of you asked me about it. I hope I taught you something today. Is there another style you guys want to take a look at? Is there something else, some other sensation that's happening online that I don't know about? Let me know and I'll take a look at it and see if I can offer any insight. It's all about knowing the rules before you break them. And if you don't know the rules, you're going to break them accidentally. And that's not a strong artist. That's an artist that just stumbles into accidental success, which is also great. You know, that's great in its own right. But sometimes we need a little bit more of a deliberate success, the more proficient we get, because it is a sign of someone who can be hired and relied upon. And that's what you guys want to be, right? You guys want to get those big jobs, hopefully, if there are any left after AI is done. And you can if you learn these rules and know how to deliver these styles that are in such high demand everywhere. So the neck wouldn't be that dark. All right, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. I'll see you guys after Thanksgiving. I'm so grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for living in an area where I can just teach and enjoy my life and not have my life threatened. I know that was a random thing, but like literally, I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for the people that have stuck around my channel, even though it's really just been very, very quiet and very tossed to the side because of YouTube and all its new rules and all its new way of seeing what's worth and what's not, what's product of value and what isn't. And I guess I'm not up there, but there's still people still watching, clicking on my channel and still watching, and I think that's so amazing. I'm so grateful for you guys. And I hope to be around for a lot longer doing these tutorials for you. I love you guys so much. Happy Thanksgiving. And I will see you guys in next class, Tuesday the 3rd, December 3rd, at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye, guys.